Hello everyone, it's George from Ireland. Welcome back to my channel. This video is about His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. You may know he is the younger brother of King Charles. And if King Charles had died young, Prince Andrew would now be king. Let those words sink in. So a royalist will be saying, thank goodness Andrew is not the eldest brother, though he calls for the abolition of the monarchy. Of course, if you get one bad monarch, you can easily dump him, her, move to the next one. It's been done before. Um, but Prince Andrew is utterly disgraced, and it just goes on and gets worse and gets worse. You may recall that notorious November 2019 interview with Emily Maitlis of the BBC, where she put to him various questions about his relations with a deeply unsavory American financier, Jeffrey Epstein, who flew around as Lolita Express, was taking teenage girls, some of them below the age of consent, to place in Florida, was at the US Virgin Islands, wherever, and he allegedly had intercourse with them. We don't know because there could be no trial. Epstein was convicted of some molestation of a 15-year-old, got her to give him a sexy massage or whatever, had got a slap on the wrist sentence in Florida, and was only had to spend part of the day in prison for about a year as part of a plea bargain. But then he was facing a whole slew of other charges when he committed suicide in a New York prison awaiting trial. There are those who say that he was murdered to silence him lest he name names. Now, there's no proof that Prince Andrew was engaged in these activities. There's evidence, but not proof. Virginia Giuffre, now Virginia Roberts, her married name, claims that she had intercourse with His Royal Highness when she was 17 in London. He was 42. Of course, the age of consent in England is 16, but she said she was pressured, not forced. But Prince Andrew is at least guilty of a misjudgment. And there's been a lack of judgment about his relations with a Chinese businessman known as H6. It comes out who now the British security services believe was an agent of the Chinese state. Like, it's up to 10% of Chinese adults are members of the Communist Party, and they have to swear an oath to act always in furtherance of the Communist Party for the rest of their lives. And they're in HSBC, they're in various corporations, various universities in the United Kingdom, and they're spying. And this is blindingly obvious. Everybody knows that, and very, very little is done about it. Trouble is, British universities are so heavily reliant on Chinese students, at the biggest foreign nationality studying in the United Kingdom. And so, like Hillary Clinton used to say, how do you argue with your banker? And this H6, I'm not allowed to say his name, but if you look up on the internet who is H6, it'll tell you the name straight away. Is it for libel reasons or whatever? And he got to meet the Prime Minister, David Cameron, about 10 years ago. But maybe we shouldn't be too hard on Prince Andrew, because loads of other establishment figures who should have known better met this guy. Now, what was he doing? Was he really planting listening devices, or what? Or was he just picking up tittle tattle at cocktail parties? So I think Prince Andrew is not particularly guilty of this one. Presumably, MI6 and MI5, they have an idea who these people are. You would think would tip people off. No, please don't socialize with this person. Now, how much harm can that be, inviting someone to a drinks party? Because a lot of espionage is highly technological, as in hacking into a computer system, as well as planting listening devices. These directional microphones apparently work from very far away. I was told in the United Arab Emirates, the UAE can just bug any car. There's something in any car straight away. All phone calls, WhatsApp messages, these encrypted systems. Even the British security services, they can hack into WhatsApp. It's difficult but doable, and the Israelis are apparently the best at this. So Prince Andrew, well, I've long said it, the best thing that can happen for the House of Windsor is to drop dead with a heart attack. Now, I don't mean to do any physical harm, but if he's not going to do that, could he please just never show his face in public again, and not utter a phoneme in public again? Insofar as possible, allow the public to forget him. And okay, he went to his father's funeral, and oh right, he had to go to his mother's funeral. The coronation better be stayed away, and just please do not go to Sandringham. That's the Norfolk estate where the royal family spends Christmas, has done so for 2 centuries, and that famous walk to the church. So his duty to his family now is to just go into hiding. He still lives in the grounds of Windsor Castle, and his brother, King Charles III, was trying to boot him out. That's not happening. He's not a working royal. He doesn't get any money from the public purse. It's not called the civil list anymore. I can't remember what it's called. It's over £80 million. This deal worked out at the time of George III. There's the Crown Estate, a lot of properties around the United Kingdom, particularly in the Surrey area, and therefore the profits from those go to the Exchequer, be spent on the National Health Service, the army, upkeep of roads, the civil service, whatever. And in return, the taxpayer gives the royal family money each year, and it's adjusted. The Parliament debates every so often. Is over £80 million dished out to the king and various working royals, a working royal prince or princess who cuts the ribbon at hospital openings and such like. Now, Prince Andrew is not one of those. He's stepped back from public duties. But should be stripped of various his honours. He was patron of loads of charities. Went back in the 1980s. He was made patrons of some sort of child protection charity, and this was actually put to him by Emily Maitlis when she interviewed him about his imprudent association with Mr. Epstein, and saying, "Well, I would have known what to look for because I was patron of whatever society in the 80s." And that's the thing. There's this automatic assumption of wisdom, intelligence, and common decency from royalty, and clearly as an unsafe assumption. Most of the others conduct themselves quite honourably. Uh, and he's just a dimwit. I'm a bit of a believer in physiognomy. You can see that on his face. I remember reading this female journalist and saying that there was a gathering and everybody was greeting Prince Andrew very deferentially, kowtowing to him, maintaining a certain distance because he's exalted with his royal status. And then some sexy young women came in and said, "Andy," and were all over him. And his facial expression changed. And the woman wrote, "But it was the face of a little boy." So he really is fundamentally dim. He's the only one the police and whatever various of the staff dish the dirt on and say he is terrible, he's grossly offensive. He's thick enough to think that he really is a superior species. All the others seem to recognize they just happen to be born into that family. They don't deserve it. They're not super talented or gifted. They didn't even necessarily want to be royals. Maybe they wouldn't choose if they did have a choice. And okay, you can abdicate and disclaim all right to inherit. But might feel they have a duty to other people and then don't want to let the public down. Prince Andrew, who honestly seems to think that this is no more than his due, and that's we verbally abusive to staff who are just doing their duty, trying to keep them safe and so on. And this has gone back for years. I remember way back in 1996, because I knew one of the Prince of Wales's staff saying that Andy was known as Randy Andy because of he was extraordinarily libidinous, and of course, he had lots of money, but he was a prince more than anything else. Wow. So that's him, national disgrace. But obviously, it's a gift that keeps on giving to the point of view of the anti monarchists. He's 64, so he'll be around for quite some time yet. Seems to be in quite good health. My goodness. And he wanted a greater role for his daughters, Beatrix and Eugenie. And they both got the title princess. And I remember Beatrice used to sign herself York, in as much as her father was the Duke of York. And he's so dim. When he was in the United States, he introduced himself as the Duke of York, as though people would know who that is. Even the United Kingdom, most people wouldn't know. That's the title traditionally given to the second son of the monarch. But obviously, it cannot pass to a female. So when he dies, it'll be farmed out to some other member of the royal family. So that is Prince Andrew. H6 is just another example of his lack of judgment. But all right, he was not the only one. And when is the United Kingdom going to get serious about national security? Got to blame David Cameron over 10 years ago, suppose the golden era's relations between China and the United Kingdom. And yes, China had money to invest. They're doing less well now. But that meant looking the other way about enslavement of the Uyghur people, genocide of the Uyghur people, and the Chinese government just being very oppressive to its own people. We've seen what they've done to the Hong Kongers since. Right. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.